Yeah, she's blown completely through on that one side. So the 2166 scrappy machine, I don't know what to call it anymore. The other 2166 has a blown head gasket. This is the one that was puking out of the front seal, and it was leaking out of the front of the head here, and it was just covered in oil. So I've been running it, but it's just puking oil right out of the gasket and shoving it out the front of the grill. And I don't want to make it any worse. And I mean, a lot of that pressure's got to be going into the crankcase and pushing seals out. So rather than just continue running it as it is through winter, I'm going to fix it because the idea is to put a plow on the front of this. And yeah, so let's get started. Single cylinder Command CH16S. Pretty simple to work on. Basically a 10, a 7, an 8, and a 13 millimeter. It's a metric engine. It's about all you need. So I'm going to start with the exhaust because I'm assuming it's going to be the most problematic. And I don't know if I'll have things snap or break, or I really don't know what's going to happen with this. Oh wow, that one actually came right out. That's okay. I guess that's good, right? So these are 13s up here. Yeah. Wow. Pretty surprising. Now the stud didn't come out with it, which may be an issue. If I can't get this out, slide that down. I don't know. On the last time I did one of these on the 2166, it was I had the muffler off when I did it, so it wasn't as big of a deal. Is this just gonna come off? No way. Yeah, it's just gonna, okay. That's fine. I didn't expect that either, so that's odd. Wow. Now, I don't know if I might have to pull the head up with it, but that's okay. I can do that. That's not a big deal. Now these are loose and that's up. So, before we go any further, let's take the side panels off. Because we're going to need to do it anyway, so might as well. This one's just spring loaded. I know it has a screw top. Come on. Yeah. A little tricky. Come on. Normally there would be spring-loaded washers down there that just kind of hold it in. I ended up having to mess around with these though. So basics. Exhaust, intake with carb. Fuel line, shrouds, and then it comes off. Not a difficult engine to work on at all. At all. Some 10s here. Alright, might as well just pop this off, I guess. So you had a 7 or an 8 up there. I think we had, yeah. So 8 mil up here, 13s for the exhaust, 10s for the intake here. And then you've got a breather tube right here. I actually replaced this one. I don't think I've had this cover off before, actually. Not on this one. There's a seal right here, too, for the air cleaner that typically gets squishy and old. Needs replaced. Yeah, so we got the adapter. And then there should be a gasket there. We'll have to make a gasket for that. Same thing happened on the other 2166. I think just right now it's puking oil out of the breather, so this thing's just gotten crusty. We'll make a new one of those. It's pretty simple. Then you got your breather tube here, which can just pop back in that hole. Slides out that way. Pop it off the head too. Boop. And this will... Okay, so here's the part that I like to keep connected and not really fully disassemble is this. And it's a little bit tricky. But if you flip the cover, can you see that? Yeah, if you flip the cover like this, there's a throttle cable. Where's that the choke? Yeah, that's the choke. The choke cable, or the choke linkage underneath, can be rotated, but you have to get everything in the right position to do it. There. So it can unhook, and then this whole assembly can just kind of hang. It won't hurt anything. Just to sit there like that. You have linkage to the carburetor here, so there's a clip, slides out. And then so I don't lose the clip, I like to put it back on the rod. And there's a spring, which I will keep connected to the motor here on the governor arm. And then we got a carb with a shut-off solenoid down here. It's, wow, what has happened? Oh boy, we just got a shroud just hanging there. And some kind of really stanky repair on this solenoid wire. What is going on? Oh, jeez. Why? You see that in there? Yeah, somebody's further evidence of electrical tampering on this thing. It's been tampered pretty bad no matter what system it is. Somebody's wanted to change a lot of things on it. Whether or not it needed it, there's been some tampering on this electrically. So anyway, fuel line here. It's got a tight elbow on that line, so if that line's good, try to preserve it. It's a little difficult to get a normal hose to make that bend. So try to save that. Normally there would be also a connection for ground on the carburetor where it goes into the engine. This one's been disconnected. I'm probably gonna do away with that guy anyway, just to eliminate any future issues I might have with it. On the commands, what I like to do is basically bypass or remove these, and then make sure that I shut the engine off, let the engine cool down completely so the muffler's not screaming hot, and then after the engine is cooled down for 10-20 seconds, then I throttle up to at least half throttle, if not more, and then shut it off. So that gets the mix real lean when you're shutting it off, so there's not dumping a bunch of raw fuel into the muffler. It also gives the muffler and the rest of the engine a chance to cool down a little bit. And then you don't have to worry about the backfire solenoid intermittently working and not working, which will completely shut off fuel to the carb and the rest of the intake. So we'll probably take this apart on the bench and clean it before we put it back in. And probably disable that solenoid. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, this shroud is just hanging here. I don't know why, but it is. It's missing a fastener here, and it's missing one here. So yeah, that's not good. Now we've got exhaust loose, intakes off of there, we can pop. Let's start removing covers and stuff like that. So normally there'd probably be a 10 mil down here. That's what it looks like. And another one, or maybe a 7 or an 8 right there. There we go. Shroud off there. One nice thing about these is you don't have to pull the engine to do the head. Unlike the twins on the Cubs. You got one over here too. Because the shroud doesn't interfere with you taking the rear shroud. I guess it would be the front technically. So yeah, it doesn't interfere with you taking the head off on the singles, but on the twins it does. Let me get a good look down here. Ooh, that's crusty. Oh, that really needs done. I'm not going to pull the engine right now. We're just going to do the head with it sitting there. But really, this all needs... Here. I'll bring you guys in so you can see a little more detail. Probably kind of boring just sitting up there the whole time. Yeah, what I'm saying is the engine does need removed because this is really crusty back in here. It's just soiled and crap. But for now, we're just gonna pull this guy off. So there's a little spring from the carb. This is that shroud I was just jiggling around. Thing's loose, gross. It was not connected here either. The first shroud bolt I had was that one. And I just pulled the one for the oil dipstick tube on this side. I got a couple more. Be ready to start pulling her off of there. We got like 10 mil here, looks like. Yep. Somebody's been in here too, it looks like. Somebody's definitely tried to reseal the valve cover because it's got a bunch of RTV on it. Like way more than it should. Another 10 mil here. That off. And then, I think this is free. Pull that out of the way. And there we go. First look. Jeez. Oh, man. Oh, dude, it's terrible. Yeah, it looks like the valve cover's leaking too. That's part of the problem too. Well, we'll fix both. I mean, it's not bad. I'll do half of it. Yeah, it looks really bad in there. Once we pull the head off, we'll take a better look at it. Lifting eye is back here by the breather. Let's remember that for when it goes back together. I believe this whole assembly will come up with the carb, or with the intake and head. Yeah. On the last one, I actually pulled this off, but I'm going to try to leave it on there, at least for now. I'm going to have to resurface the head. I'm assuming the head's pretty warped. So most of the time here is not going to be spent doing just basic R&R. I'm going to have to take the head over to the bench, put it on a sheet of glass, grind it flat. Probably do the same for the valve cover because I found the last valve cover was a little out of flatness too. So, yeah, it's going to be a process. And then this whole process of removing shrouds is going to have to happen again when I pull the engine, unfortunately. Unless I get enough room in here. I don't think I will. Yeah. I don't know if, careful of that. There's probably some light cleaning I could probably do without pulling the rear shroud. Man. I can see how this is going to go. I can see exactly how this is going to go. What's going to happen is I'm going to pull the head off. It's going to be super crusty and gross down in there. I'm going to spend all this work getting the head cleaned, and then I'm not going to want to put a nice, clean, resurfaced head and gasket and everything on top of a dirty motor like this. I can see it. It's going to spiral just like everything else. So, probably discredit what I'm saying here, but my plan is to not slide the engine forward, pull the shroud, and go that far and pressure wash all this, but this, I'll get you down in there. So the reason that I'm reconsidering not pulling the motor and cleaning it is because of this. I'm going to do the head gasket, and I'm going to do the valve cover gasket, and I'm going to clean the carb, and I'm, why not? It's going to spiral, I know it. Why not just pull the whole engine? On this one, I probably can just slide the engine forward with the exhaust removed, because if the head's off, slide the exhaust forward, or slide the whole engine forward, pull the rear shroud off, disconnect the drive shaft, slide it, clean it, put it back, maybe, or just pull the whole thing. I didn't want to go that far, but it's going to have to happen eventually, right? So whether it happens now or later, it's probably best that it happens now. So, all right, enough of this. Let's get back to getting the head off of there. Oh yeah. Oh, looks like this has been installed, but tweaked. Why would they do that? Why would they have it sitting sideways like that? Who did that? Lots of RTV. Somebody really, really likes that stuff, apparently. Oh well. We'll see. We got the... Pull the rockers off here. I'm going to grab a bag, set everything in a bag, because that stuff's got to stay clean. Okay. CH16S exhaust. Here's for the exhaust. CH16S intake. Okay. Label. And we'll start with the intake. Looks like another 8. Those funky sizes, man. Okay. Intake here. Huh. These push rods don't have a hole in them? I swear they had a hole to lube them, but maybe not. There's plenty of oil up on top of the motor there. So. And we got new valve seals we're going to put in. We'll pull the valves, lap the valves. And do all the internal cleaning and stuff too. So this is going to be a pretty involved process when it's all said and done. But, the engine ran really well. It didn't smoke. I mean, it puked oil out here, but it actually, once it warmed up and it ran really well, especially considering it had a blown head. So, all right, those are labeled. Those are done. Now we can actually pull the head. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13 mils here. And we got a B. I'll spray with some brake clean. Where's he at? Get out of here. Get out of here. Fantastic bee repellent. Okay, we're going to come in with, I think we got a 13 here. Yeah. Head bolts. I don't know if any of them are loose, but they might be. Nope. Just checking them to see what they're at. No. None of them are particularly loose. Ooh. They are on there though. Starting to move. Let's see if we can. Yeah, that one's going. Okay. Oh. There we go. She's starting to come out of it. Dang, that one's tight. About the only tight one on the whole thing. Well, within reason, I guess. Jeez. Oh, wow. That one's bad. I think that one's actually... I'm going to replace the head bolts. This one's coming out like this. Like the bolt is stretched and warped. Can't really get a good... Man, I just can't believe that won't go yet. Ugh, man. Well, more juice on it. Give her a little more juice, I guess. Nope. Just break the spark plug? I don't know. I think so. Man, that one was not happy. Okay, I think that's all of them. I think that's one place the head was actually decently well sealed in too. Okay. You got that one break free? Yep. Yeah, they're all free now. So, I gotta be careful because I could be dropping a bunch of this stuff down in the motor. I don't know where the piston's at right now. Let's see if it's... It feels like it's either at the top or the bottom. It doesn't feel like it's in the middle of the stroke, so... Yeah, this reed for the breather, when they installed this breather, is cockeyed right here. I don't know if you can see that in the video, and probably not too well, but we'll take a look at that when we get it on the bench. I'm just going to get the impact and run them out. For something like head bolts, I like to have a feel for them before I take them out, but now that they're all loose, I'll just... And this is the engine that actually had the spark plug cockeyed in the head, so we'll take a look at those threads too. See what they look like. Nope. Okay. I should have just pulled the spark plug first. That one head bolt's hitting the plug. We should be free. Alright. Let's see what we get out of it. Should just... Yeah, as bad as the gasket was, I figured it'd just pop off of there. That's the case. Yeah, well, we got tension there, so let's be careful with that. You got this one here that has the spacer and the washer on it. Goes in this corner here. Just got to be mindful of that. This one just felt terrible here. Can't get that one out, so let's see if I can just wiggle the head up off of there. Around there. Come on. Come on. There we go. Alright. Got that one head bolt just sticking me. Come on. There we go. Yeah, I should have just taken the spark plug out. I don't know why I didn't. There we go. Alright. Whew. Well, I was wrong. It was in the middle of the stroke. There's our head. Flip it over. Here's the combustion chamber. Pretty gross. Lots of, you can see right here, there's barely, this is the exhaust port, I think. Yeah, this is the exhaust port. So this is the primary area that was broken was right here, and you can see the discoloration. This is a sealed area for the most part, and then from right about here all the way around to here, that gasket was shot. And yeah, you can, before I pull that gasket, I'll bring you guys in, you can see it. That's pretty typical command cylinder head gasket breach. That's the worst part, and then this is just covered in oil all over here. You got oil coming up through here, and it just goes past the gasket and all the way around. So it's just coated, man. Really surprised it ran as well as it did. So I'm gonna take a look at the board. I can't see much on camera yet, but I'll bring you guys in. We're gonna have to clean all that up anyway. I just wanted to give you a quick visual. Yep, I still got a decent crosshatch in the cylinder. Doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of scuffing over there. Not much of a ridge. We got some. It's definitely a worn engine, but it's not terrible. So let's see if we can rotate it up. Make sure I don't get any crap down in there. Alright, we'll just leave it there for now. Actually, not too bad, all things considered. And I'll put something down in here too. We'll just pop the gasket off. See if we can get it off there. Yeah, it'll come off pretty easy. drop in there, but there we go. Yeah, she's blown like completely through on that one side. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see it. Flip it over. Same deal, coming right through it. You can see the discoloration on the block too, from like here, around here, over to here. So basically from like here out, shot. Looks like the gasket was okay over here, and then maybe a little bit right here, but everywhere, especially next to the exhaust port where the heat is. So that's the head gasket removal. Now starts the majority of the work. Clean that up and see how far we're going to go with this engine as far as cleaning the rest of the crap out of there, because it's been leaking for a long time. But we'll be back for the actual repair.